All right, welcome back. We are OOP3200 in the fall 2020 semester, and it is week 13, part 2 of our broadcast. And now we're talking about your Java assignment or lab assignment 4. Let's bring up the document. So this is up on DC Connect. Notice it says it's due week 13 as normal, Sunday, December 13th, 2020 at midnight, value 6% as normal. This is abstract classes and polymorphism is what the topic is. Again, one thing is for this one, you have a lab 4 starter for this one. So lab 4 starter, if you look up on DC Connect, you're going to see that on our lab for week 13, Java lab 4, there is this lab 4 starter. Okay, so it's right here. So please download that, start from there. Now, alternatively, if you don't want that, you need the person class that's embedded in this lab. So it's up to you what you want to do. You want to download it, or you want to just take the person class. Either way, if you want to create your own lab, it's up to you, but you need it. So from this lab, you're going to get the abstract person class. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So here is your what the lab would look like. This is the starter. And you can see here you have a person class. Here's your person class. Now this was originally written by Tom McDonald. All I've done is extend it, made it slightly different. So if you notice, it says abstract on here, on top of here. Remember what abstract is, just as a reminder. Abstract means that you cannot create a instance of this class. So your person class would be something you cannot create an instance of. It has your private attributes here. Again, none of this has been changed from the original, right? So this is for you to use. Your person constructor, which takes in full name and your birth date, as well as it initializes these, and then you have some getters and setters. Okay, so that's kind of what this person class is all about. One thing to note, and a great thing about the IntelliJ environment, is we can do a bunch of stuff with it. For example, if I want to look at diagrams, you can create a diagram similar to what we did with star UML right here inside of IntelliJ IDEas. If you go to show diagram, then what you'll see is this person class object right here. So this is the diagram. Up here on the top, if you really wanted to create your diagram and make your diagram work, you could increase this to show fields. If you want to show methods, right? If you want to show all kinds of stuff, this is a great little thing. It'll kind of show you all of these and the connections between all of them if once you're connected. Notice that these ones here are locked. This one means that they are private, and anything that's got the unlock, the thing that's open lock, is public. So this is just IntelliJ's way of sharing that. You can also kind of add properties or interfaces or all that kind of stuff. Notice that also that the class itself, there's a little area right here, and again, if we zoom in, you can see that up here there is this little symbol that has a class, but it looks like the class is in jail kind of thing. It's kind of neat. Whereas the regular class on the other side doesn't look like that. This means that the class is an abstract class. So that's kind of really cool. And this is the base for your Java lab assignment 4, which is kind of cool. All right, cool. So this is what the base is. So what am I asking you to do? You're going to use this abstract class to create something called the employee class, and then use the employee as an abstract class itself for something called hourly worker and salaried employee. So how would I start this off if I was you? First thing I would probably do, and this is just my start, is, and I'm giving you this, I give this to you. So if you're watching this video and you've taken your time to do this, you're going to get some free marks here. So here's how it goes. So let's do that. Let's set up employee, hourly worker, and salaried employee. Let's set those three classes up together. So employee, so I'm going to right click here, I'm going to go to new Java class, right? And I'm going to call this employee. So that's what I would do. And it's going to make an employee, but what I want is employee should be abstract, right? And also, not only should it be abstract, but it should extend the person class. So those are all the things that it should do. Okay, so we know that this is what we want, and abstract should be obviously before class, abstract class employee, right? And let's do some organizational change. Now notice I'm still getting an underline, and whenever I do a class that extends another class, especially if it's abstract, what it's going to ask me to do is, if I click on here, there's going to be a little light bulb that comes up that says, hey, do you really want to create or implement the abstract class? Because if you do, right, it's going to ask for any kind of other implementation. It says create constructor matching super. That's one thing. You can also make the employee package private. There's lots of other stuff you can do here, right? So notice it does that. So let's just do that. Let's take the first choice, which is create constructor. Okay, so when I create the constructor, it fixes the problem right away, right? It kind of says, okay, I got my constructor. The constructor is called employee. It takes in full name by default, birth date, and then it passes those two things to the super constructor, which is the person class. Okay, let's just make this look like normal. So let's say I don't make any changes from here. I'm just going to continue to create my classes so I can create my structure. And this is what I recommend for you too. Create your structure first. There's already a Java doc that's based on the previous one that comes up. You can obviously change this to include more information for your side. All right, let's make the other one. So the other ones I need, if you look at the documentation again, are hourly worker and salaried employee. Let's do those. So hourly worker. So again, Java class, hourly worker, right? I want to add that in. And I might as well just add the other one too. New Java class and salaried employee. Okay, so I've got those two classes set up. And notice that's what I've done. Hourly worker, salaried employees. That's part of the marks right there. But we know that they're a little different. Hourly worker extends the employee. So let's do that. So it extends employee. Okay, now when I do this, I have a problem because I need to satisfy the super constructor. So if I click on this, and again, if I go to the light bulb, it says create the constructor. It takes care of that problem. Again, you are going to have to modify this later on. I'm just putting together the structure for you right now. And if I go to my salaried employee, I do the same thing. So salaried employee and hourly worker. Let's do this hourly worker. So again, hourly worker extends employee, right? And they're very different, right? So we're going to do this. We're going to hook on this little light bulb and create those structures. And what this is a great start for you for what you do. Now this is not the solution. This is just making all the structures that you need. Okay. Then what I can do is go back to that diagram. So this is the diagram, and by the way, you can put the diagram in there just for your views. Is I should be able to drag and drop these things right into the diagram, right? So notice that I can go. Let's go back to that diagram. I can say that hourly worker, and we're just going to zoom out again. I'm using the control key here to do that. Control and use my mouse button. So I'm rolling out. You can see that hourly worker extends person to some way, right? But you know that there's a class in between. It's called employee. So if I add that in, then you start having a picture of how this works. Take a look at this, right? So there's your employee. Hourly worker extends employee, and then I can put in salaried employee, and now we have a better picture of what our inheritance and looks like for us, which is kind of cool. Again, it's a little wonky in terms of the way this is done because I move things around, right? So change scope. It says edge creation mode, show dependencies. We can do that. Zoom in, zoom out, actual size 1:1, fit content. That's a good one. And it says apply current layout, right? Save UML diagram, export or print, which is pretty cool, right? So that's really awesome. And again, you can kind of move these around as much as you want, but really at the end of the day, let's do that again. And if you do that again, take a look at that. It kind of does that kind of stuff. If I want to move the thing around, right? Again, you can move this any way you like, right? At the just so you can see what you see here. So 1:1 is actual size. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. Again, this is just a way of looking at things. But one thing to note is that there is a relationship, which is what I want to show you. There's a relationship between person, employee is the abstract class. Notice it's in jail, but hourly worker and salaried employee are not. They're open up. And what you need to do is you need to create the structures for this as you go forward. Now, I never asked for a UML diagram. I'm creating one to kind of simplify your life a little bit and kind of discuss how everything is linked together here. All right, so requirements. And there's requirements for each class. Requirements for the employee class. Your class declaration. We kind of took care of that right now, right? So you get like 5 marks for free just by doing this with me, this little video. Instance variables. That you have to do on your own. What we're looking for is all employees have an 8-digit employee ID. Okay, and although this ID is numeric digits, it should not be stored as a number. So that means it should probably be stored as a string, right? Because we're not going to do any math on it. That's the first thing. So right there, pretty simple. You know what to do. Parameterized constructor. We've got half of this done already. It says there is no default constructor, but there is a parameterized constructor for employee. The ID variable may only never ever be set with the employee object. So that's what's missing in the constructor there. It is a final variable and should only be set by the parameterized constructor in here. This is pretty cool. If the parameter used to initialize employee ID does not match 8 digits, this right here is some validation. You should check. If the parameterized constructor should also initialize the inherited attributes name and birth date, well, I kind of gave you this one because we just did it in one click, right? So this part, name and birth date, well, if you go back to IntelliJ, well, I kind of do that, right here. Name and birth date, that's done. That's initialized, right? Because I've taken the stuff from through the parameterized constructor and passed it along into the super constructor, which is what normally happens. Now again, the reason why I've done this for you is because there's no work to do. It's really our ID did everything for us, which is okay, right? But just in case you don't follow along for some reason, you're going to lose these free marks. So right now, 7 marks have been given to you for free out of 100. Accessors. Okay, cool. Include a method to get ID, which is get employee ID. You have to do that yourself. That's pretty simple. And another method called calculate payday. This is where you have to do a little bit of work. Okay, so this is a little bit of work involved there. Then the requirements for the salaried employees. So far, let's count this up. I've given you 7 marks free. Class declaration. Guess what I just did? I gave you another 3 marks for class declaration because we made it so that it inherits from employee class. So 10 marks free. I've given you 10% of your assignment for free right now for this one, right? Instance variables. Yes, there's something called yearly salary that you have to figure out. And then your accessors and mutators, you're going to make some getters and setters for this. Parameterized constructor. Well, it says initialize all the attributes appropriately. I've done some of the attributes. You're missing yearly salary, right? So I've kind of given you part marks for this one already. So which means probably I'm into the 11 mark range that I've given you for free. Calculate pay date. Obviously that's not there. Hourly worker class. We did that one. I've given you this one, which means now we're up to 14 marks out of 100 that I've given you. Instance variables we haven't done because you needed something called an hourly rate, right? And also something else called hours per week amount. All right, so those are 2 more instance variables. You're going to create getters and setters for both the hourly rate and the hours per week amount. So 2 more getters and setters there. And guess what? The parameterized constructor, I've given you part of this already, which means you're probably getting part marks, let's say 1%. So that's like 16 marks right now out of 100 you've got for free if you follow this little tutorial, all right, or this little video. Cool. The real trouble, I think, is right here in the program requirements and testing. What it's asking you to do here, and I'm just going to zoom in so you can see it more. In your main, create a salaried employee object with appropriate attributes and print their yearly salary amount to the console window. This is pretty straightforward. Change the yearly salary amount and reprint it. So do this twice and make sure that it's in currency format. This might require you to create a 2-string variable, two-string method, an overridden 2-string method that allows you to do that. Or you can look to see, I would research how you can format a string. So you're gonna do string builder or something like that to format a string so that it is formatted with currency. That's for you to figure out. Hourly worker object with appropriate attributes and print their hourly rate and hours per week. Change the attributes and reprint them. So in other words, do this twice again. Cool. In a try-catch block, create an array, that's pretty simple, that includes 2 salaried employees and 3 hourly worker objects. Hard code appropriate attributes, so you're going to set them up. And note that this demonstrates the inclusion polymorphism. The elements are all employees, but there are different specific types, and this is worth 5 marks. And finally, this is probably the one that you need to work out a little bit more. It says print a payroll report, to the console window that neatly shows each employee ID, name, and amount. So you kind of make little columns for me is what I'm looking for here. Use a for loop for your solution, for loop, for each loop, whatever you want. And at the end of the report, show the total amount paid this week. So amount paid for each employee, and then total up everything at the end. Again, I would allow you to add any structures you wish at all on for this this piece. And I mean that if you want to add additional structures to the classes, or you want to make additional structures in the main program in your entry point. So that means if I go to IntelliJ, I'm talking about in this file, you can make this. You can add other additional structures in other parts of your program. It's up to you how you want to do this. Like for example, let's say you want to make something that does a report generator. You can do that. You can challenge yourself or make it as simple as you like. Okay, so that is, in a nutshell, everything that you need to know for Java Lab 4. The regular requirements that we've talked about before, general requirements like your internal documentation, GitHub, and your little video presentation are all the same requirements that we had before. From a mark distribution, that is all the same, 80, 5, 5, and 10. So nothing is different there. Okay. So now, if you have any questions, please hit me up on Discord, or you can send me an email, of course, through our regular channels. It's totally up to you. But for the most part, I think this is a very straightforward assignment. One thing that's coming up, like I talked about in class, is make sure that you're prepared and your system is ready, so that way we can do more Java effects, because lab number 5 for our class starting next week, and it's the last lab. Next class, which is on Wednesday, is our last class. I may host an extra class on Friday. We'll see how it goes, depending if we need it. What I'd like you to do for this is make sure you have everything ready technologically, so that way we can do our Java effects lab. Okay, because it's a bit of a one-time cost of getting all that set up, and I've kind of went through how to do that. I'm going to give you more information about how to do buttons, more labels, and I'm going to get you to build a very simple application that's visual, right? That's your last lab for lab 5. Okay, taking into account all the things we've talked about this semester, it's kind of a culminating assignment. I expect that it's going to be a little bit longer with a bit more involved, just a bit more. Okay, it should be fairly straightforward for you, but it should give you more information about what you're doing. Okay. All right, so unfortunately I can't ask you for questions. I can look at the live chat on YouTube. I don't see anything that's up on live chat right now, but if you're watching and if you are up on Discord, I can take any questions you have right now. So if I'm just looking at it right now, I'll wait a few minutes, and then I'll see if there's any live chat coming in on YouTube as I'm broadcasting live, or if there's anything on Discord. Okay, it looks like there's none. You guys are all good. If you do think of something, though, again, I don't think this is a very challenging assignment. I felt that this was pretty cool, this part, which was the UML diagram that's built in. IntelliJ is really, and actually JetBrains has gone above and beyond with some of the tooling that they've included in their IDE. This used to be part of Visual Studio, something like this. They don't have it exactly like this anymore. But I mean, it is something you can add the extension in Visual Studio to do this too for C# and C++, but it's not quite the same. Okay, so I'm not seeing any questions, guys. Thank you so much, and good luck on your Java Lab 4. Again, it's due Sunday at midnight, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Take care.